Have you ever tried to understand the analytics and the statistics that Apple gives you inside of Podcast Connect? If that's you, you are not alone, my friend. So in this video, we're going to break down the recent update to Podcast Connect and explain how you can use this information to better understand your audience. When you first log into Podcast Connect and go to the Analytics tab, this is what you're going to see for your show. You're going to see an overview of your entire show and all of these different data points. And you're going to see three big ones right on the top: listeners, engaged listeners, and plays. So let me break down what those mean and why only one of them is actually super helpful. Listeners is the number of unique devices that have played more than 0 seconds of an episode of your podcast, which doesn't really tell you a lot. It's like the number of iPhones that hit play at some point in time, but that's about all it gives you. Same thing with plays on the far right. It's telling you the number of unique iPhones, iPads, MacBooks that hit play on an episode, but it doesn't tell you much beyond that. This engaged listeners number in the middle is actually very helpful because that is telling you the number of people that have listened to 40% of an episode or at least 20 minutes of an episode, depending on how long your episodes typically are. And so you can compare your engaged listeners number to your listeners number, the first number, and see what percentage of your audience is actually listening to your podcasts. Because if they're listening to 40% of it or 20 minutes of an episode, there's a good chance they're listening to the entire thing. So if you've ever wanted to know like how many subscribers or how many dedicated listeners do I have for my show in Apple Podcasts, this engaged listeners number is going to tell you exactly what that is. The second helpful piece of information that you'll find in Podcast Connect is the average consumption of your episodes. So if you're still on this overview screen and you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a list of your episodes organized based on the most recent at the very top. If you go to the very far right, you'll see this average consumption column. That is telling you, on average, how much of your episode your listener is listening to. And so if you get 68%, like some of these episodes say, then that means, on average, your listener is listening to 68%. Now, that's also including people that listen to 10 seconds, decide it's not for them and move on, but is also capturing the number of people that are listening to the entire thing. But here's something that's even cooler about this average consumption number. Let's just pick an episode. This one right here, Podcast Movement 2021 Recap, which has an average consumption of 68%. If you click on the title of that episode, it takes you to another screen with a graph, a full graph showing you where people are dropping off in this episode. And what you are looking for are specific areas or instances where you see a sharp decline, where a lot of people stop listening at the same time. That is a really good indication that whatever you just said in that moment in your episode, you should not say ever again. So this graph is really helpful for showing you where people are dropping off, and you can take that information moving forward to make sure you're incorporating that into your podcast episodes to make sure you're giving your listeners exactly what they want to hear. The third thing that I want to draw your attention to, and this is brand new to Podcast Connect, is this performance tab where you can see how episodes compare to each other over time. If you're just looking at your download statistics in your podcast host, it can be difficult to know which episodes are performing better than others just by looking at the number of downloads because they're all published at different times. This performance graph allows you to compare apples to apples different episodes and also compare them to, on average, how your podcast performs. So if we look at the performance graph for Buzzcast, and this is showing the most recent 5 podcast episodes, comparing that to the median, and you can see that over time, the more recent episodes are getting more traction because the podcast audience is growing. Good for us, right? That's what you want to see. But you can compare this to the average. You can do a sample size of the last 50 episodes. You can change the number of days after release from 60 to 30 to 7 to really get a full picture of how are my episodes performing compared to episodes from way back when I started, and am I actually improving? Because you can add and take off episodes from this graph. So I'll just take off this most recent one and I'll just add one from down here. And now you'll see it pop up as the new purple line. And so now we're comparing this episode from a couple of months ago to the one we just published. And this shows you apples to apples how these podcasts perform over time. And the last thing that you can learn from Apple Podcast Connect is actually not in their analytics tab, but is a nice little fun bonus thing that I'll show you here. So if you just go to podcasts and then click on the podcast that we were just looking at the analytics for, on the far left, you can actually see your Apple ratings and reviews. So you don't have to try and find them on your phone or on your computer. You can find them right here. And not only will you be able to see the ratings and reviews from your own country, but we can also see in Canada what our ratings and reviews would be. And so we can see we actually have 3 reviews. So if you're living in a different country, you can actually see your ratings and reviews from all these other countries. Now, you're not gonna have ratings and reviews from every country, but if you go back to your analytics tab and scroll down from the overview section, it will show you your top countries. And that is a good place to start. So for Buzzcast, it's United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, which is going to be probably the top 4 for most English-speaking podcasts. So those are the 4 places you should start if you want to see your Apple Podcast ratings and reviews from other countries. So that's everything you need to know to make sense of Apple Podcast Connect and the analytics that you get from there. But if you want to go even deeper into your stats to understand all the different things that you can gather at a podcast host level, what someone like Buzzsprout can give you, we actually have a video dedicated to that. So if you want to watch that next, you can click the link in the description or this video right here to my left to just dive deeper into the world of podcast stats and analytics and nerd out and geek out about all the fun graphs and charts that your heart desires. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. And as always, keep podcasting.